Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the MMA Corner Prediction Show. It's tonight. We have a double dose for you. We're giving you UFC Fight Night 55 and UFC Fight Night 56. As always, this episode is brought to you by Battle Bomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. Battle Bomb. Definitely go check them out. Boni aside, go to the MMAcorner.com. Halfway down the page, click on Vitor. Boni aside, the best weight gain or weight loss products, energy products, all of that kind of stuff that you need. Boni aside. So definitely go check that out. I am your host, Josh Davis, alongside my co-host for the evening, Jose Young. Jose, how you doing this evening?
Same old. Just getting ready for a real busy week of MMA, not just the UFC.
You know, obviously we're breaking down the UFC two cards, Fight Night 55 and 56. But there is a lot of MMA going on this weekend. You have RFA Friday night, then you have ONE FC on, I guess, Friday morning. You know, a lot of MMA going on. But with that being said, this is the prediction show for UFC Fight Night 55 and Fight Night 56. Let's get right into it. Since we do have the two cards to break down, we'll just, you know, go straight at it real quickly. Jose, give me your thoughts on the overall card of UFC Fight Night 55, Bisping versus Rockhold.
I like the main event, obviously, just because it's always fun to watch both men fight, regardless of whether it's a main event or not. Rockhold's obviously the former Strikeforce champion. Michael Bisping is what he declares the unofficial Strikeforce champion after he supposedly had his way with Rockhold in a sparring match. And I get the sense of, like, when a lot of the other Michael Bisping fights, he kind of builds it up. Like, he had no beef with Kung Lee. He kind of had that manufactured beef with Alan Belcher where they would trade videos. But you didn't get a sense of, I dislike this person. You really get the sense of both men hate each other, because you have them doing the stare downs and they're talking trash. But when the cameras start rolling and everybody takes out their little iPhones to record what's going on after the big cameras start rolling, they're still talking trash to each other, even when they're not live. So you do get that sense of just pure animosity towards each other. So I am excited for that fight, just because both guys are top 10 middleweights, and it's always fun to watch that. But outside of that, you really have to be a die-hard fan to get excited for this fight. I mean, Clint Hester, nobody really talks about. He was a tough 17 fighter. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He has some knockout power. He's fighting Robert Whittaker, the Tough Smashes champion, but he was welterweight, come to middleweight. It's usually the other way around. People usually go down a weight, not up in weight. We'll see how that's going. And then I always am down to watch Ross Pearson do his thing. He did have that. He should have won. He did win against Diego Sanchez, regardless of what those scorecards said. He did knock out Gray Maynard, so I am very excited to watch him fight. Ali Quinta I'm surprised they gave him Ali Quinta. I feel like it's a step below Gray Maynard, his last win, but I just think they needed him for this card. He said yes. So, but other than that, you're really reaching for Sol Pelele on the main card. I know he's a heavyweight. People love heavyweights, but I'm not getting out of bed just to watch Sol Pelele fight. So outside of the main event, you really got to be a diehard fan to get excited for this one.
You know, I'll be honest, going back to Australia, I did expect a little bit better of a card. Now, with that being said, it is what it is. Pelele's on the main event for that exact reason, because it's in his backyard. This is, you know, he's on there for the hometown fans. So, however, he is 21-4. It's not like the guy's a joke.
With 3 knockouts in the UFC.
There you go. And if he does get the victory, I do fully anticipate he's going to sing to us, and I will get out of bed to hear that man sing a song. So, no, I'm not excited about this card by any stretch of the means. And if I'm being real honest, I will be interested to see how well RFA does competing with the UFC on Fight Pass. I'm just interested to see what the numbers are, because again, they're going to be right at the same time. So we'll see how it goes. But as you alluded to, the main event, that is what this card's all about. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Walt Harris versus Solo Pelele. I'm going Pelele in this fight. It is in his backyard. Yes, he is coming off a loss to Rochelle, but I think he's going to find a way to get back into victory lane with either a KO or a TKO. I don't think this fight's going to last long. These are two big heavyweights that hit very hard. They're going to be swing chances, and someone's going to be. It's either going to be Harris or Pelele. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Pelele gets it done.
Yeah, I have a big rule when I'm picking fights, and I never pick a fighter that doesn't have a Wikipedia page. So I'm going to have to go with Solo Pelele on this one, too. For everything you said, and the fact that I can look him up on Wikipedia and get his full fight history.
You know, there's going to be a lot of guys you're picking against tonight.
Yes, that's very true. Last cut, UFC 179, too.
All right. Moving right along, Clint Hester. Start us off on this one.
Like I said before, Robert Whittaker was the Tough Smashers welterweight champion. He does have knockout power, but he's moving up in weight. When, like I said, it's usually the other way around. Usually people are overmatched in a weight class and they decide to drop down. And I didn't really feel like he was overmatched in his weight class. He fought Court McGee, an Ultimate Fighter champion, and Stephen Thompson, who is Wonder Boy, who can knock you out from anywhere and is on a 4-fight win streak. So it's not like he's fighting these bottom-of-the-barrel welterweights. And, yeah, like a welterweight, you don't really get one of those bottom-of-the-barrels. Everybody's good. But the two wins he does have are over Colton Smith, who, he was really nothing. He won the Ultimate Fighter and got cut. And then Brad Scott in the Tough Smashers finale. So it's not like he beat guys he should have, and he lost to guys that people expect him to lose to. So I don't understand why he's dropping down. He said it's because his body's maturing and naturally getting bigger. But I thought he was fine at welterweight, and he's getting Clint Hester, who John Jones' first overall pick on the Ultimate Fighter 17, has boxing credentials, has knockout power. He's 11-3. He has wicked elbows from the clinch, wicked elbows from the bottom. He showed on the Ultimate Fighter that just because he's being held down, he won that whole round on his back from throwing elbows from his back. He's on a 4-fight win streak. 2 of them were TKOs. He did beat Dylan Andrews, who was on the Ultimate Fighter 17. He won. He's beaten everybody impressively. He's never really looked overmatched, so I'm going to have to go with Clint Hester on this one just because he actually has a proven track record at this weight class.
You know, I go back and forth on this one. I don't really know why Whittaker is going up to middleweight. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because he wasn't a big welterweight. I mean, at least not as far as fight day went. And plus, I've seen this guy. I've never spent time with him, but I've seen this guy, and he's not a big dude. So I don't really understand why he's going to 185. It doesn't matter what I do or don't understand. The fact is, he's doing it, and he is going to debut on this card. Now, I'm a big Whittaker fan, to be honest. I think the guy has skills. He's got the old school English boxing style, and that's a style that I've always loved to watch. But that's where it stops for him. Hester has all the intangibles, has everything that you said he does. Plus, he's done everything that you just said that he did. Here's the thing. I'm still going Whittaker. It's basically in his backyard. I mean, obviously, England, Australia is not a short flight, but it's much closer than where Hester's going to. Plus, Whittaker's used to fighting over there. And there's a lot to be said for that when you think of the time change and how your body acclimates and adjusts and prepares and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Whittaker's probably going to get the crap beat out of him. I'm still picking him to win this fight. I'm going Whittaker.
This is my pick for the most likely to have the knockout or the performance of one of the performance of the night bonuses. This is one of my picks. I don't know if it's going to be a submission or a finish or a knockout, but this is one of my picks because both these guys, both of their opponents usually end up very bloody after fights. And
since he picked Hester to win this fight, folks, what that means is he is saying that Whitaker is going to get the crap beat out of him, and Hester's going home with a knockout or submission of the night.
Getting his 5th straight win in the UFC, which is something nobody's talking about.
No, he's flying underneath the radar. But to be real honest, to start off your UFC career, that's not a bad thing. Keep winning fights, do it quietly, renegotiate your contract, get some decent money, then start fighting the guys that really have the ability to break you off. That's exactly how I would do it. All right, moving right along. Your boy Ross Pearson versus Al Iaquinta. Go ahead and start us off on this.
I'm a big Ross Pearson fan. I remember when he made the drop to 145 pounds, I was completely caught off guard by that. He's not like he's a normal size 155er, and he would have been a huge 145er, and it just didn't work out for him. And now that he's back to 155 pounds, I honestly think he's looked better than ever. I think he absolutely beat Diego Sanchez. I haven't met one person outside of those weird judges in Albuquerque who gave it to Diego that think that otherwise. Outside of that weird illegal knee he got from Melvin Gillard, which was a no contest, and then that terrible, terrible loss to Diego Sanchez, he could be running a 5-fight win streak, I believe, since he returned to lightweight. He finished George Soteropoulos. He finished Ryan Couture. He got that illegal knee to Melvin Gillard. He should have beaten Sanchez, and then he knocked Gray Maynard unconscious. So those could be 5 finishes for him, or 4 finishes, and then a decision, which he won. I love his fighting style. He's comfortable fighting anywhere, but he has some wicked head kicks and some fantastic, like that English boxing style you said. He did win the Ultimate Fighter, so big fan of Ross Pearson, but I do like Al Iaquinta. I've seen him fight live a few times. I was at his fight against Mitch Clark, which he was dominating. I mean, that first round could have been a 10-8 round. And he just I don't know if he got lazy or he was going to try and coast, and he got caught with a Darce choke against the cage by Mitch Clark, which was my pick for the submission of the year in the first half of 2014. I mean, nobody saw that coming. Talked to Matt Serra after the fight, and he was like, I didn't even know what happened. Mitch Clark just caught him, and that was that. I mean, so he could be riding a 5-fight win streak too, but they're not. Neither guy, they should be, but they're not. And I love both guys, but I'm going to have to go Ross Pearson just because I think he can do enough on the ground to defend Al Iaquinta's ground game, because he is a Serra-Longo guy, so you know he does have the ground game and the stand-up game, but I just think his stand-up is just so much superior to Al Iaquinta. So I'm picking this. I have to go with Pearson in this, but Al Iaquinta is no joke, and he's going to bring the fight for sure.
Well, if some butts were candy and nuts, we'd all be happy at Christmas.
Exactly.
And if Ross didn't cheat, he wouldn't have got disqualified against Melvin Gillard.
Very true.
If Ross would have finished Diego, he wouldn't have lost a decision. You know, I don't know what else to say. No, he got screwed against Melvin, personal opinion, and there's no question he got screwed against Diego. With that being said, this is the fight game, and these things happen. And again, you got to be prepared for that. There's nothing really that he could do about the Melvin stuff.
Yeah, that's not his fault.
No, there's, that was
the doctor's decision.
Nothing he could do there. So it is what it is. But the issue with Diego, I mean, finish the fight, go in there. You're in the guy's backyard. It's Diego Sanchez. No disrespect, but if at any time you ever thought you were going to win a decision, you're smoking crack, dude. You needed to go in there and finish that fight. Seriously, I'm not even joking. You could have 10-8'd him every round. You were not walking out of there with a decision. Come on. Anyone who doesn't think there's hometown biases, all that kind of stuff, that's nonsense. There absolutely is. Case in point. So, again, if you really thought that you were going to walk out of there with a decision, that's on you, and you should know better. And so hopefully you learned a lesson and understand that you got to finish these fights. Now, Al Iaquinta, like you pointed out, I mean, he was completely dominant in that fight, and then he got caught sleeping. He also could be on the 5-fight win streak. Neither of them are, Both of them were fighting to get back into the mix. And to be real honest, if these guys were ever going to get a title shot, they were going to have to fight each other anyway. So it makes perfect sense. The winner of this fight is going to be in the mix. And while I am a big fan of Ross Pearson, let's be honest, the guy always throws me for a loop. I mean, seriously. He beats Dennis Seaver and then loses to Cole Miller. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Then he beats Spencer Fisher and then loses to Edson Barboza.
That was a great fight. A lot of people thought he actually beat Barboza.
Again,
he didn't, though.
I'm just going with how his record reads. I thought he probably won that fight if I was but again, I'm not. I'm a dude with a...
That was also in Barboza's backyard.
Then he comes back and he beats Junior Assunção. Then he loses to Cub Swanson, obviously, 145 pounds we're talking about here. Then bumps back up, whoops on George, whoops on Couture, illegal knee, DS loss, victory over Gray Maynard. Here we are. I mean, he's just, I'm not going to say he's underachieved, but he certainly has some losses that he shouldn't. And as I look at this, is this going to be another fight where he doesn't come to perform? Or has he realized, hey, I got to be at my best at all times. People aren't going to roll over for me because I talk with an English accent and I have some tattoos. People are not intimidated by me. I'm going to actually have to go in there and fight. And sometimes I think he forgets that. And if he does that in this case, Al's going to beat the crap out of him. However, with that being said, I don't know. I just, watching him pick apart Gray Maynard and then ultimately getting the KO, I don't know. There was something about it that just let me think, all right, maybe he does realize that this is what he needs to do. There's no BS, no trying to bully people. Just go out, land the strikes that you need to land to finish the fight. And that's completely different than going out there and throwing punches. Mark Hominick was the king of doing that. He would go out there and land the precision striking that was necessary to finish a fight, and that was it. He didn't want to, throw needless shots to, open somebody up. He would just, again, laser precision accuracy, and that's what Pearson has. So if he uses that, I think he'll get it done. I'm going Ross Pearson. Moving right along, Rockhold Bisbang, start us off. What do you think of this fight?
I think people are making this out to be closer than it is, because in my mind, I think Rockhold is, while he has fought in less skilled opponents while he was at Strikeforce, I just think Rockhold at the moment is a better fighter than Michael Bisping. If you look at all of Michael Bisping's losses, he got humped to death by Tim Kennedy. He lost to Vitor Belfort. He lost to Chael Sonnen, and these are all like top guys, like top 10 guys. So he's lost to all like the top 5 fighters. But then he stabbed Alan Belcher in the eye, basically. But he was winning that entire fight. It's his credit. He beat Brian Stann, which was also another very close fight, which he could have come out on the wrong end of that one. But like you said, he didn't. He beat Jason Miller, and beating Jason Miller like that, what did you expect? Beat Jorge Rivera, did kick him in the head or knee him in the head when he was sitting on the ground. Beat Akiyama, who's now a welterweight. Beat Dan Miller, who is great, but is kind of MIA a lot lately. So I just think if you look at Rockhold's body of work over the last few years, I think he has some more impressive victories, because he does have the victory over Tim Kennedy. He does have the victory over Jacare. He does have the back-to-back finishes over Tim Bosch and Costa Filippo, which were very impressive finishes. It's not like he just submitted him, like he kicked. He beat Philippou with a body shot in the main event, his first main event, and then he got Tim Bosch in like 4 submissions at once. He was like triangle choking him with an armbar. So I just think he's looked much more impressive as of late. Michael Bisping, I think, has a better resume because obviously he's been fighting in the UFC. But at this moment in time, I just think Luke Rockhold is a better fighter. And if you look at the stare downs, Rockhold is so much bigger than him. I feel like Rockhold could be a light heavyweight. And Michael Bisping is just a little skinnier compared to him. I just think Rockhold is the better fighter at the moment. Michael Bisping could easily win, but I'm picking Rockhold to win by finish. I don't think it's going to be in the first round, like you said, but I think this is Rockhold's to lose.
You know, you bring up a good point. Definitely, definitely. I've always thought that Bisbane, really, if you wanted to, could make 170 pounds.
Oh, for sure.
You know, he walks around with his chest out and always flexing like he's big, but he's really not. And Luke Rockhold is a huge freaking middleweight. I mean, seriously, the dude's 6'4". He's a big dude.
He's taller than Cain Velasquez, I'm pretty sure.
You know, he's freaking huge. Smart money's on Luke Rockhold. There's no question about it. And to be real honest, if you follow the site, you know that we do Davis versus Durr. Myself and the editor of the site, we do our predictions. It's called Davis versus Durr. He turned it first this week, and so I never, and main events and that kind of stuff, I never like to have the same picks. I always try to be different, and you know, so usually whoever gets to go first has the advantage. He got to go first. He picked Colt. So with that being said, I picked Bisbane. I do think this is a fight that Bisbane could win. Honestly, I don't think he will. Smart money is on Rockhold. He's the bigger, stronger fighter. He's going to be able to use his range, his length to keep Bisbane on the outside. And I really do think he's going to be able to pick him apart with his punches, with all of his striking. If he wants to get a takedown, I think he's big and strong enough to do it. I don't think that Bisbane's going to be able to stop it. If the fight's into the clinch, I think that's where Bisbane will be able to land some eye pokes, gouges, elbows, whatever he has to do to get a victory. But I do think Bisbane can win this fight. I just don't think he will. However, with that being said, to stay true to my predictions, I'm going with Bisbane. All right, guys. There you have it. That is UFC Fight Night 55, Bisbane versus Rockhold.
We seem to be pretty on the same page on that one with our picks.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a lot of. I don't want to say easy picks, but like I said, it's a lot of fighters that should beat other fighters. Well, they are expected to win. It's not a lot of close contended matchups.
You know, it's funny. Anytime you look at a card, you're like, all right, this guy. It's a fight. Anything can happen.
Agreed.
There's no question about that. But again, using common sense, you look at fights and, yeah, there are guys that should win. That's why they're the odds makers in Vegas, all of that kind of stuff. So, but I'm never surprised when anybody loses, because there's always the Joe Lozon out there that you haven't really heard of, and then you got the old timer and Jens Pulver that, you know, everyone thinks is going to make a comeback to MMA and just be right where he left off, and you forget about how age catches up you, and sometimes the young lion is just ready to dethrone the old lion and comes in at a 6-1 dog and shocks the world in less than 3 minutes and makes people, you know, rich. And so there's always those types of moments, and that's why I love it. But yeah, you'll look at a card and yeah, this guy should win. So it is what it is. All right. Final thoughts on that card. Definitely check it out. It is on Fight Pass. Friday night, main card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, so everyone else, you guys can do the math. It's not that hard, 987. Just figure out what time zone you're in. Prelims start at 7:30 Eastern. Again, 6:30, 5:30, 4:30. Do the math, find out what time zone you're in, whatever. All right, moving right along. UFC Fight Night 56. This event actually, legitimately, is on Saturday in the United States, not Saturday on the eastern side of the world. It'll be Sunday, but it is Saturday for us. Shogun versus St. Preux. Interesting card. Gotta be honest, not exactly sure what I think about it. We were supposed to get Jimmy Manawa on this on this card. I don't know if this is a step up or a step down. You know, it might just be a flat-out even exchange here. Give us your thoughts, Jose. What do you think on the main event change?
I think Ovince St. Preux is a much harder fight for Shogun because I don't. Jimmy Manuwa is by no means an easy fight for him. But what I'm saying is you kind of know what Jimmy Manuwa brings to the table. I mean, he likes to stand and trade, and he has like dynamite in his hands. And he's put away a lot of people with injuries. And I mean, he's a very exciting fighter to watch. He's one of those British bruisers who likes to throw punches pretty much the exact same way Shogun. It'd be like Shogun fighting his British clone. I mean, they fight very similarly. And the big thing with Ovince St. Preux is his style of fighting is so unorthodox, is so unpredictable. I was at the UFC Fight Night when he fought Ryan Bader, and he threw some crazy. He would come in with an overhand, and you'd think he was going to come with an overhand right, and he would just follow up with an uppercut with the right hand. I mean, he's just all over the place. I don't want to say that he is absolutely raw, and he knows how to use his just size, freakish athletic, and just power to his advantage. I mean, he's a former University of Tennessee football player, a Division I football player. So he knows how to use his strength to take people down. He has some crazy submissions. I mean, people like to call him like a stand-up fighter, like that's what he likes to do. But he has a win by a calf slicer. He has a win by a Von Flue choke. So just because he's up, you can get OSP to the ground, you are by no means like out of danger. I mean, he's just proven that he can submit you with crazy stuff. And his style of his stand-up is just so unorthodox. He's very big for the weight class. I believe he is. I think he's taller than Jimmy Manuwa just from the eye test. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't know who to pick on this. But I think OSP is a step down in the eyes of fans, not in terms of ranking, but if you showed Jimmy Manuwa and OSP like their resumes, I would think in the minds of casual fans this is a step down, but a much harder test for him.
You know, it's tough to say that a guy who's I think 16-6.
Yeah.
16-6 is a step down. OSP is a bad dude. He really is. He was on a 5-fight win streak before his loss to Bader, and before that he lost to Gegard Mousasi, but was on a 7-fight win streak. So the guy's got skills. Here's the thing, and we'll get into this in a moment. Kudos to him for stepping up and taking this fight. I think he bit off more than he can chew. Not that I don't think he can beat Shogun. I certainly think he can beat Shogun at this point in Shogun's career. I think I could probably beat Shogun at this point in Shogun's career. No disrespect to him. He's not the same fighter that he used to be. And all of us diehard MMA fans that, loved him back in Pride, here's the thing. He's never been as good as he was in those days. He came into the UFC, and while he's given us great fights, he certainly has. He's a warrior. He has not been as good as he should have been.
Which is a shame because he's in his early 30s, which is not even close to being like the twilight years of your career. He's just taken so much damage.
He has. And, here's the thing, guys. Back when Chuck Liddell was dominating the UFC light heavyweight division, it was Shogun Rua who was the true number one ranked 205-pound fighter in the world. It wasn't Chuck. All the, true MMA pundits that were doing rankings at the time had Shogun Rua as the top dog because he was. But now he's not. Now he's certainly going to come in and give fans everything he has, but his talent, his potential, all of that is not what it used to be. However, this is an interesting fight. So let's get into this card. Enough rambling about a bunch of nonsense. Let's talk about it. All right, we got Nina Ostroff versus Juliana Lima. I like this fight. I really do. I think it's a solid fight, a good way to open up the card, and really, I think it's a pick'em fight. Juliana's 6-2, Nina is 6-3. They match up very well against each other. It truly is a pick'em fight. However, tonight I'll go with Juliana. We'll go that way.
Yeah, I think the only reason this is on the main card is because of the Ultimate Fighter 20, which is featuring the strawweights, and this is a women's strawweight fight. These are two of the women that didn't have to go through the house. And I just think they're trying to piggyback on these two women are in the same weight class as all the women that we're seeing on the Ultimate Fighter, so we'll watch these guys. But there are a lot of other fights on the Fox Sports 2 card that I would have preferred to see on the main card, but I get why this one is the opening act. And this is, like you said, this is a pick'em, 6-2, 6-3. Anna does have that one fight in the UFC already, so smart bet would be to put money on her. Plus, like I said before, she has a Wikipedia page, so I'm going to have to go with Juliana Lima on this one.
There you go. You got to love how that works. All right, next fight. And I actually am looking forward to this fight. I mean, it's not a great fight. I don't expect it to be anything major, but it's just a classic age-old grappler versus striker fight. This is the whole reason why we have mixed martial arts, to see who would win these types of fights. And Leon Edwards, classic striker against Claudio Silva, who's your classic Brazilian grappler. He's looking to take you down and submit you. Leon used to fight for Bama, excellent knockout power. However, as we have learned, and I love Bama, I watch all their events, they don't have the grapplers over there that you're facing in Brazil. They really don't. And so really what this fight boils down to, and I know it's cliche and lame to say this, who's going to implement their game plan? It's really that simple. Whose style of fighting who can implement their style of fight is going to win. And in this case, again, it's cards in Brazil. It's tough to beat a Brazilian in his backyard. However, we've been good at going down there and doing that lately. I still think Claudio's is gonna get this victory. I think he's going to be able to take Leon down. I think he's going to be able to get a submission. Now, he's going to have to do it either in the first or second round. I think the longer this fight goes, the better it is for Edwards. But I think Claudio will get the first round submission, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you on this is obviously a striker versus grappler, and it is hard to beat a Brazilian in Brazil, especially for somebody coming from across the pond, let alone the U.S. But Silva did beat Brad Scott in England, where Brad Scott is from, in his last fight. That was almost a year ago, but so he's beaten somebody in their backyard by decision. So it's not out of the question that Edwards could do it, but I just think Silva is gonna win this. I think he should submit him in the first round, but I just think this is gonna be a rather lackluster fight. I don't know enough about Leon Edwards. I mean, I've seen him fight, but he doesn't really stand out. So I can't really picture a moment where I was like, wow, I will remember Edwards for this. I just remember Silva beating Brad Scott, who the Tough Matches alum in England on that Manuel Gustafsson card. So I'm going to have to go with Silva, but I think it's going to be a decision where it's not going to be a boring, like he's not going to smother him, but I just think he's just going to control him the entire fight en route to a decision victory.
There you have it. All right, moving right along. And another fight that, again, could be a snooze fest or could be extremely exciting. You have Warley Alves versus Alan Jabon. All right, go ahead and start us off on this one, Jose.
I like Warley. Warley Alves is the tough 3 champion. I think he's dropping. Yeah, he's dropping down. He won the middleweight tough Brazil 3 middleweight tournament. And he's dropping down to welterweight. He's 7-0, so he's one of the brighter stars coming out of Brazil from the reality show. And from all accounts, from a lot of the pundits I've on Twitter and throughout the internet, they are all over. They love Warley Alves just because he's one of those guys that can fit. He's a phenomenal Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. He can submit you with some crazy stuff, but he does have the stand-up, and he trains at X Gym with Anderson Silva in Rio. So he is submerged in that world-class striking. So I'm sure he knows how to at least defend some of that crazy stuff from that Joe Blanc can bring you. So I'm high on him, but I was cage side for Alan Joe Blanc's knockout of Seth Brzezinski, and that was like Seth Brzezinski's head just hit the canvas so hard, like that echoed around the arena. It was like the sound of a basketball being dribbled on the pavement, and that was that ended up winning fight of the night. And Seth Brzezinski was actually like taking it to Joe Blanc for a while. I mean, that fight was going 100 miles an hour right off the bat. I think it ended late in the first round, but for pretty much 4 minutes, they were going 100 miles an hour. Joe Blanc was eating all kinds of shots from Brzezinski, getting pressed against the cage, takedowns, and he ended up just connecting with a beautiful, I believe it was a right hook that just dropped Brzezinski. He was out before he even hit the canvas. So this is a very exciting matchup where it's not two prospects, like it's not like a Conor McGregor style prospect coming up or a John Jones or one of those guys that is projected to just take over the division. But this is a very exciting matchup where you get two guys that are kind of flying under the radar in terms of the potential, and neither fighter, a loss will not hinder either fighter. Like if Conor McGregor loses to Dennis Siver, that's a pretty big deal for Conor McGregor because he's not the champion. He's still rising right now. A loss for either guy won't damage their UFC career. In fact, a loss in that style, like Joe Blanc, if Joe Blanc had lost to Seth Brzezinski, that fight wouldn't have set him back because it was such an exciting fight. I think this fight is going to be very exciting. I think the winner will propel into not stardom, but people start to talk about them. The casual fans will start to talk about them, and the loser will be remembered for just an exciting fight. And I don't think either man will suffer much of a backlash from a win or a loss, because this is my pick for the fight of the night. But I think Alves is going to win because I'm going to pick him because it's in his backyard. It's decision.
You know, I go back and forth on this fight. Alves should win this fight. It's in his backyard. He's undefeated. Yes, he has 2 decisions on his 7-0 record, but even in those 2 fights, he was completely dominant. He's dominated pretty much everybody he's faced, and odds are he should dominate this fight too. But there's something about Joban that I like. I don't know what it is.
Is it the chiseled face? Because he's consistently ranked the most handsome UFC fighter in the whole organization.
That could be it. I don't know. Maybe I'm memorized by his chiseled face. I don't know. There's something about this cat though, that I like. I was actually at RFA 10 when he got whooped by Mike Rhodes, to be honest.
I remember that.
I was still, even though he got whooped, I was still impressed by this guy. There's just something about him. He does have skills. Is he as good as he should be? No, he's not even close. The guy has a lot of skills, a lot of potential, but he's nowhere near tapped into any of it yet. So we'll have to see how it goes. This is a fight that, like I said, Alves should win. It's all set up for him to do so. That's why I'm picking Joban. The only reason I say that is if I was a betting man, I would throw down whatever money on Joban and just see how it plays out. So I'm going with Joban to pull off the upset on this one. All right, moving right along, co-main event. I don't know, the guy with arguably the best nickname in all of sports. You got to love it. John Lineker versus Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall. I love Ian McCall. First off, he's such a good dude. He's such a fun interview. He's just always screwing around. He's a good dude. John Lineker, on the other hand, guy's vicious. I mean, I wouldn't want to get hit by him. With that being said, I think this is going to be all Uncle Creepy. I think Ian's going to be able to use his style to dictate the pace of the fight. He's going to use his striking to set up takedowns when he wants to. He might not do anything with the takedown other than just score points with it. I think Ian's going to pretty much dominate this fight. I don't know that he's going to get a finish, but he's definitely walking out with his hand raised.
Yeah, I think this is the two best. Both men have the two best nicknames outside of Yoel Romero, Soldier of God. But John Lineker, Hands of Stone versus Uncle Creepy Ian McCall. I think John Lineker could have already had a title shot, but he missed weight back-to-back times. And when I say missed weight, it wasn't like he was half a pound over. He was like 3 pounds over two straight fights. And he ended up winning, and if he had lost either of those fights, I think he would have been handing his walking papers by now. But I think pound for pound, he's one of the hardest hitters in the entire UFC. He's one of those rare lightweights that he can knock out a lightweight. I mean, one of those rare flyweights that can knock out a 155-pound lightweight. I mean, he has some dynamite in those hands. He has, I believe, 3 knockouts in the UFC, 4 knockouts as a flyweight in the UFC. And Ian McCall, the only 2 fighters he's lost to are Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson, who everybody says are the 1-2 fighters in the whole weight class. So you can't really hold that against him. And he went to a draw with Demetrius Johnson in his first time. And like you said, he laid him down all sensual and had his way with him, like in the first time. Exactly what he said. And I agree with you. I do think Ian McCall is going to use this. He's going to pick him apart. I just think he's the better all-around fighter. But Lineker just has those, like his nickname says, hands of stone. If he can connect with one of those punches, if one of those fists can just find McCall's chin clean, like if McCall does what he did against Demetrius Johnson, I don't want to say he coasted, but he was winning that 3rd round, and he said, I could have finished that fight. I didn't. I was playing to the crowd. If he pulls that against Lineker and Lineker's hands touches his chin, his lights are going out for sure. But I think if McCall's can focus, and I don't want to say focus because he's always going to be focused, but if he sticks to the game plan and doesn't play to the crowd like he said he did that one time, I think this is his fight to lose. He's the number 3 fighter in the division for a reason, former number 1 fighter in the division. So I'm going to have to go with McCall because he's also proven he can beat the hometown favorite in Brazil. So I'm going with McCall, and he will fight Demetrius Johnson next.
A couple of things. I go against Hands of Stone. It's because John Lineker's not the first person to
It's true. It's very true.
And then I will agree, Yoel Romero was Soldier of God. But the only reason Soldier of God works is because it's Yoel Romero.
Exactly.
Okay? I could pull off Uncle Creepy. I could definitely get away with that one. No way I could do Soldier of God.
You have to look like an action figure to have that nickname.
And he fits that bill, so I will give it to him. And then, come on.
It's a good one.
It's good. So, all right, moving right along, main event. OSP started. Was that?
Oh, you froze for a second, so I missed that part. But I'm assuming you said start with me. I'm gonna go. All right. Like I said before, this is I don't know who to pick on this. I was picking Shogun for sure against Jimmy Manuwa, because I just think their styles complement each other for just an all-out striking battle. But OSP just has that weird, unorthodox fighter. And I wrote a breakdown for his fight against Bader, and I watched a lot of tape on OSP, more tape than I've pretty much watched for any other fighter. And he has just this very strange, raw, unorthodox attack. And I think I know Mauricio Shogun, who is a superior fighter, but sometimes those great fighters, when they see those weird styles of fighting, they get caught off guard. This is technically wrong. I prepare for a fighter that knows how to fight, and I just feel like sometimes OSP just relies on his strength and athleticism to win fights. But that being said, I just think Shogun is Shogun, and it's hard to pick against him, regardless of who he's fighting. Like Joe Rogan says in the commercials, you never want to miss a Shogun fight. So I'm gonna have to go Shogun. I'm gonna say knockout, TKO, 3rd round. I think he's gonna have a feeling out process because he hasn't had a lot of time to prepare for OSP. As soon as OSP shows that he's just all over the place, maybe he does tend to leave his chin out when he rushes forward. He did get tagged a few times from Bader's overhand right, but he ate them and he kept coming forward. But I just think Shogun's going to win it. Better all-around fighter. If it goes to the ground, and I think it's anyone's game because OSP is just so powerful from the top. But I'm going to pick Shogun unless OSP can just connect with one of those violent uppercuts. But Shogun's my pick.
You know, I imagine most people don't realize this, but Shogun Rua has a losing record in the UFC.
He does.
Which, it is what it is. And here we go, I'll do it one more. He's 4-6 in his last 10 fights.
Well, if you look at everybody he's lost to, they're all 5 fighters.
They're all what?
They're all the fighters that Shogun has lost to are all close to top 5 fighters in that light heavyweight division.
Chael Sonnen was a top 5 fighter?
I was top 5 middleweight, and he was dropping down. He got caught fairly early.
No, I'm just teasing. No, I mean, I'm not discrediting any of his losses. First off, you lose to anybody in the UFC, you're still losing to the best in the world. I mean, the worst guy in the UFC is still pretty much better than anybody else. So, no, I'm not discrediting his losses. I'm just stating facts here. He's 4-6 in his last 10 fights. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is Shogun's last fight. Win or lose, I think Shogun is going to retire after this fight. I think that's kind of why the UFC gave him a main event on Fox in Brazil. Does he deserve any of those? Let's just be honest. No, he doesn't. I think this is setting up to be his last fight. They gave him Jimmy Manuwa, like you said, a guy that he should have beat easily. Should have had a good showing, a good way to go out, retire with a victory, all that kind of stuff. Take this fight and took the opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for him. Here's the thing I question. I don't know what OSP's been doing. I'm sure he was in the gym training and all that kind of stuff, but how much was he really preparing to fight? He did take this fight on short notice. I mean, what is he going to have in the gas tank to do a 5-round main event fight?
Well, he was originally supposed to fight Fei Zhao in the co-main event.
Oh, that's right. But again, that's not Shogun.
No, it's not.
However, I think he bit off a little bit more than he can chew. While taking this opportunity is huge for his career, if he loses, it's no big deal. But it really will show where he's at in the division. I kind of think this is a must-win fight for him. Losing to Ryan Bader, not good if you want to, say, hey, that you deserve a title shot anytime soon. Not that Bader's a scrub or anything. It just means that Bader is always going to be ahead of you. So losing to Shogun in your next fight, certainly not going to do you any justice in getting the title.
Agreed. And everybody keeps I did it this prediction show. I said Shogun is going to have that. Didn't have a lot of time to prepare for that weird, unorthodox style of OSP, but OSP had this almost no time to prepare for Mauricio Shogun Rua. And a lot of people will say that is a lot that you can't prepare for Shogun. Like you can't prepare for that zombie-style attack where no matter how many times you hit this guy, he's going to keep coming forward, and there's no quitting that guy. I mean, you saw his face after the first Dan Henderson fight. His face looked like hamburger meat. But he finished the entire fight. He was on top of Dan Henderson after that, and you can't prepare for that style of fighting. That sheer determination where I want to win and I want to be champion. And I just think Shogun is going to pull it out. And I'm going to say, you said that this will be Shogun's last fight, but I'm going to raise you one. Say if he win or lose this fight, his luck, and then both of them will retire after that fight.
there you go. That's a possibility. I would not. Now, again, the reason why I say this about Shogun, I've not talked to anybody in this camp. I've not talked to Shogun about this. I know competitors. I know when you're the best at something and drop down as far as Shogun has, he has to know that he's never going to get back up to John Jones's level. He's never going to be champion again. So you got to go out on a high note, and I think this is his opportunity to do so. I love OSP for taking this fight. I still think it's Shogun's fight to lose. And, you know, again, training for Shogun and for OSP, he's still got to deal with the mental issue of, holy crap, I'm about to fight Shogun. I'm going to fight the legendary Shogun. And if anyone says that that stuff doesn't go through their mind, is full of crap. And I'll bring up Pat Barry. I've talked to about this fight. Should have won that fight. Beat him because of everything that he had seen Crow Cop do in Pride way back a long time ago. That was his idol. Should have won the fight, but didn't because of he never got over the mental fact of he was fighting the great Crow Cop. The first time GSP fought Matt Hughes, GSP was winning that fight until Matt got to take down late in the round and worked the armbar. But again, GSP the whole time was fighting his idol. Never got over that mental block of, holy crap, I'm fighting Matt Hughes for the championship. OSP, if he is going to win this fight, the first thing he has to do is get over the mental block of, holy crap, I'm fighting Shogun. Not only am I fighting the legendary Shogun Hua, I'm fighting him in Brazil, main event on Fox. And so until he can, you know, truly grasp that, it's going to be a tough going for him. It really is.
He's going to have to take a page out of John Jones's playbook and just look at Shogun as another man and talk to Bader about, or people close to Bader, and Bader had that same thought that you just mentioned when he lost to Tito Ortiz. Ryan Bader should have had his way with Tito Ortiz, but as soon as he looked across that cage, he remembered Tito Ortiz from all those VHS he used to rent, and he quickly became a deer caught in a headlight, and then he got stuck in that guillotine. OSP is going to have to take a play out of John Jones' playbook and just look at Shogun and say, I'm going to crush you with my length, with my 21st century or later 21st century style of fighting, where I am just more athletically gifted than any other person you fought in Pride. And he's going to have to use that to his advantage and just look past Shogun's name. And if he does that, he could make this a fight.
He has all the skills to beat Shogun. He really does.
Oh, for sure.
He's a big, strong. If he wants to take Shogun down and hold him down, he can certainly do that. You know, he's got the skills to win this fight. It all starts with the mental aspect. You know, he's got to get over that block, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going with Shogun, and again, I'm going to call it. I think at the end of this fight, we're going to hear little retirement speech from
he also has that sweet gig as the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 4 head coach opposite Anderson Silva coming up.
He does, but notice how he's not fighting.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. He's not fighting Anderson; he's just coaching. So I think that they'll try and give him a little nog at the end of that. Anderson and Shogun will appear on this probably Brazil card, like not a Fox card, but like a Brazil, one of those Brazil pay-per-views they're going to announce, and then I think he's going to ride off into the sunset with all his other Pride friends.
You know, to be honest, that makes sense. You know, and oh my God, I'm just getting old, and that's how it is. Because again, I love Pride. I grew up on Pride. I mean, I grew up on watching Frank Trigg and Jay Glazer do their little TV shows about, you know, Pride highlights and whatnot. And, you know, all those guys are done. You know, they're done. They're way past their prime. None of them, and I'm going to say it about Shogun too. Again, for 6 in his last 10 fights, none of them should still be competing, and all of them are trying to hold on to the glory days of Pride. And you know what? Just like your careers, pride is done, and it's time for all of us, myself included, to move on from those days. Because while the UFC doesn't have pride rules, I wish they did. I'd love to see a soccer kick in the UFC.
I'd love to
Uh,
see some foot
they
stomps.
are exactly. They are putting on hella fights. So uh, I don't know. I think Shogun's done, but again, you bring up a hell of a point. They could give him Little Nog at the end of that if Little Nog can stay healthy enough, long enough to get knocked out for another time. So um, that's going to do it. Jose, final thoughts on the card.
I would love. I think these two fight cards should switch. I think the Brazil card should be on Fight Pass. I would love to see the Australia because it's in Australia, so I don't know why they have to show it at such a weird time over there. I would love to see this one on the Australia card on UFC on Fox and the Brazil card on Fight Pass. I think the Brazil fight card is very top heavy. The co-main event is very interesting. It's very important, and obviously Shogun is fighting. I just think top to bottom, I think the Australian card is a little stronger for the casual fan. So, but if we're talking perfect, like we were talking before we went on air, I would have just put these two fight cards together and made one of those classic 2008 fight cards where every single fight is important, single fight brings it. And but hey, we're in 2014. We're doing 2 fights a night, 55 events a year, so I'm not complaining that they're doing more UFC, but that's just my take.
No, and I agree with you completely, especially, with them having to cancel UFC 176 because of injuries and all of that kind of stuff. And then, 179, like you brought up, and just all the other cards recently that have suffered injuries. Absolutely. You could have taken these two cards and combined them, made a great card. But there's a reason why the UFC is not employing us as the people putting their cards together, because they don't care what we think. And, it is what it is. We're just media. We're just fans like everybody else. They have a business model that they think is sound. Obviously, it is sound. And, again, as they look to do literally cards every weekend in the future, we're going to have some events like this where we sit back and think, well, if they did this and this, they could have created a super event. And guess what? I'm sure when they were sitting around their big giant table with their meeting of the minds that they thought that exact same thing. Hey, guys, we could do this, this, and this. And then they thought, you know what, if we do that, then we're not putting on these two other cards here, and we're losing that. So forget about doing the great card. We'll throw a bunch of bees out there and see how that works. And, guess what? It works because we're here talking about it, and
Exactly.
watching it. So they're doing everything that they need to be doing right. I'm going to be watching both of these cards. I'll
For sure.
be watching a replay of Fight Pass because I'll be covering RFA Live on Friday night. It is in my backyard, so I do have to be there. But I will be watching UFC Fight Night 55 replay on Fight Pass. So, guys, there will not be a recap show on Friday night. Well, I can't say that. If there is a recap show, I won't be the one hosting it. But I do have a great team at the MMA Corner. Who knows? Maybe they'll decide they want to do a recap show and go ahead and give you fans what you want. So what I can say is if there is one for UFC Fight Night 55, I won't be a part of it. Now, there will be one for UFC Fight Night 56 on Saturday immediately following the card. Then, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. Usually I am prepared. Let me get back to the UFC schedule here. We will be back Wednesday, a week from tonight, to break down UFC 180, which is now Mark Hunt versus Fabricio Verdun.
The cursed UFC 180.
For the interim heavyweight title. So we will be back next Wednesday to break that down. We will also be back next Tuesday with the news show. So all of your video needs are covered. In the meantime, if there's anything that I left out, corner.com for all things MMA, everything you need related to ONE FC, RFA, both UFC events. Next week, again, jam-packed. There's Legacy next week. There's Cage Warriors. There's UFC. There's World Series of Fighting. And guess what? We'll have all that stuff covered for you because that's how Jose does it over here at the MMA Corner. He makes sure that you guys get event coverage. And trust me, he does. I get the text every freaking day. He's hounding the staff, making sure that we have that stuff covered for you guys. So send him a little tweet and say thank you. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Jose Youngs.